Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sharon Zumbrin, and I am the director of the Educational Psychology Ph.D. track, and I am here with a few of my friends and colleagues.
Hi, everyone. This is Christine Bay.
And I'm David Knapp. I'm finishing up my program at EdPsych in 2 weeks.
Yay! And we are excited today to tell you a little bit about our program and answer some of the questions you might have. We have one more colleague joining us. Dr. Kathy Colley is going to join us as well. She's also faculty in the program. Will be here in just a moment. Just a couple things before we get started. We're going to give about an overview of the program for about 15 minutes. There is a chat function that I hope that everybody can see to send in questions as you have them. So after, if you have questions during this short presentation, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, there's going to be time at the end of the presentation to ask your questions as well. With that, I guess we'll get started. Okay, so first, okay, but this is perfect timing. Dr. Colley just got here. We were just doing introductions.
Hello.
Okay, so let's get started. So just a little bit about our program. It's a PhD in educational psychology. So we are the educational psychology track within the PhD in education at the School of Education at VCU. And some of the big parts of our program is that we're pretty research oriented, and we study our ideas of our research interests span several different areas, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit. But generally speaking, we study cognition and learning and social psychology, assessment and motivation. And at the heart of it, we really want to know what is it that helps kids do best in school and helps humans learn across all settings and helps educators reach those learners at all different levels. We have several students in our program right now that range from part-time to full-time, and the program is officially 51 credits, although it's a flexible program in that students who are interested in pursuing academia post-graduation often sign on for additional credits to make them even more competitive for the job market. What you'll see here at the top of the screen is our link to our educational psychology program. So if you're interested, go to that link. You can also go to the VCU site and just search educational psychology, and that will be one of the first things that pops up. So next we're going to go into some of the PhD requirements, or some of our program requirements. So one of the special things about the PhD educational psychology track is that we have a heavy emphasis on participating in research teams. I choosily call my research team our family, and it feels very much like a family in that it's really a cohesive, collaborative space. And in that space, we pursue projects that are either led by a faculty member or are led by students. And we participate in group projects as well. And then, excitingly, we share that work at conferences as well as disseminate our findings from those studies in research journals. The one thing about that is that with the program, with the participation, the new students are asked to join the research team for 1 credit every semester for 3 semesters. So next I'm going to talk about the courses. So within the Ed Psych concentration, we have several courses that are required. Many of these courses are seminar courses that new students take and with other cohorts of students. So this is typically first years and second year students take these courses together, and they range in topics from motivation and education to cognition and understanding education and social processes. And oftentimes these courses are taught in seminar format again, and that could be anywhere from usually about class sizes of approximately 10. In addition to the Ed Psych concentration, we have courses that are required from the foundations level, and these are required courses across the Ph.D. in education. In addition, there are research courses that are required for the Ph.D. in education broadly and not just within the educational psychology track. So listed here are some of those classes, but depending upon students' career goals post-graduation, advisors often advise students to take additional coursework that will match their needs post-graduation. And oftentimes this relates to either methodology, statistics, but oftentimes theory as well. And so the dissertation is the final fun thing of the PhD across the School of Education. And a special thing about VCU's School of Education's program is that that I don't think is common across programs is that we have a wonderful seminar that helps students plan their dissertations, helps them write their proposals, and kind of serves as a group collaborative space for navigating writing your dissertation. And that type of support I don't think is often available across programs, but it is a wonderful thing available here. In addition to the dissertation, there are a couple exams. So the first is a qualifying exam. This is a common exam after the first year of coursework that focuses on the primary classes within that first year. And then we also have the comprehensive exam, in which students choose a topic to write a systematic literature review, and that would be hopefully published.
Okay, so this is Christine Bay. I'm going to jump in and quickly go over some admission requirements. This is all available on our website, but we just wanted to give all the folks who are interested in applying a brief overview of the documents and test scores that will be needed to be submitted. The first requirement is that you hold a bachelor's or master's degree in an appropriate discipline. The discipline can vary. Some of the common backgrounds that our current and graduated students have held include psychology, education, and other fields in social sciences. Counseling. That's right. That's David's background. And the second requirement is competence in research methods in education and introductory social statistics courses. Prior experience conducting research in labs with other faculty is a preferred qualification, but not a requirement. Transcripts from previous academic work. We also request GRE scores of 300 or better and a score of 4 or better on the writing test. The personal statement is one of the documents that we look at very closely. As Sharon mentioned, one of the requirements of the Ed Psych concentration is that you join a research team with a faculty member. So here we're really looking to see what your professional and academic interests are and how they align with what we're doing at the School of Education. They don't need to necessarily be perfectly aligned, but it would be good to have a match. We also ask for 3 letters of recommendation from faculty or other individuals who could speak to your research experience, your research potential, and your academic background. Past work supervisors could also write letters of recommendation, but we generally recommend that at least one of the letters come from a faculty member at a university. And then finally, your curriculum vitae, so your academic resume, and with your academic background and work history. And then the 8th is not necessarily a requirement, but we may follow up to request a personal interview or a writing sample. In terms of funding, there were a couple of folks who asked questions around funding for this program. So we wanted to say up front that we do offer graduate assistantships. These are limited in number and the opportunities are competitive. They are only available for full-time students. And we're more than happy to answer any specific questions around the GA-ships via email following the webinar. We will also have more details at the beginning of January. Other types of funding sources include financial aid. There are various scholarships available, and this is the link to look at the different scholarship opportunities in more detail. And then there's various travel grants available to graduate students, both at our department level, our School of Education level, and at the university level. And again, we won't go into all the details now, but there are various sources of funding for graduate student travel to conferences, local presentations, and other professional development venues. And finally, this is who we are. This is the 5 faculty in the EdPsych concentration. The 3 core faculty in educational psychology include myself, Christine Bay, Dr. Kathleen Colley, and Dr. Sharon Zumbron. And then Dr. Lisa Abrams and Dr. Jim McMillan are also affiliated with educational psychology, as well as the research and evaluation track within our department. And you can see here that our research interests range from cognition to implicit theories of intelligence, motivation, self-regulation, as well as data use in the classroom and classroom assessment. We also strongly encourage you to check out our websites on the VCU webpage.
Okay.
And now we'll hear from David Knapp.
Hey, everyone. Okay, so just for your reference, I'm the bottom person on that screen. So you see a lot of students that are in there. We have a lot of really awesome doctoral students in this program. The picture of me at the bottom is me speaking at the TEDx VCU conference a couple of years ago. So there's some cool opportunities to get involved here at VCU that are maybe sort of related to your involvement in the program, but there's a lot of different things you can get yourself involved in on campus as well. So some of the things that Sharon and Christine have alluded to already, we have a cohort model here. And so one of the benefits of that is that it's generally smaller group size. So you have a chance to get to know the people in your cohort pretty well. There were 4 students that were in my cohort. 3 of us are full-time, 1 of us is part-time. There were 4 students in the cohort before us. There's a lot of overlap between our cohorts, and so we took a lot of classes together. And there was a lot of opportunities to interact with students who weren't necessarily on the ed psych track, but also like curriculum, culture, and change students, research and evaluation, which is now research, evaluation, and assessment, opportunities to interact between different cohorts. But because you're with a smaller group, it ends up being a really great kind of like close-knit, strong relationships that you build because you're all going through these courses together. You end up navigating your dissertation at relatively the same time. So some of the students in my cohort have just finished defending their dissertation, and I'm defending mine next Friday. And so we're all just really supportive of each other, and it's relationships I no doubt will have for the rest of my professional career. So one of the strengths of the EdPsych program specifically, I think, are the research opportunities that you have. So Sharon talked about the requirement to have 3 credit hours in direct guided research. So that's 3 semesters for 1 credit hour each. I'll say that I did more than that. I served on Dr. Colley's research team and have had an awesome experience with that. The first semester that I came in, there was an existing study that was going on with pre-health science students that was looking at their grit. So what is it that makes pre-health science students, the students that were going into medical, dental, nursing careers, what made them persist in a pretty difficult program? And so that was what the research study was that I kind of came into, and they let me come into the data collection phase of that and some of the writing and presentation with that. And then after that, Dr. Colley was really great about saying, okay, what do you want to do next? And I've always had an interest in first generation college students in my previous work with Upward Bound to Gear Up and as a high school counselor. And so I proposed that, and then we started digging into the literature on it, found out we didn't know too much about their decision-making processes, and then launched a research study related to that. So we've been collecting data over the last year with 16 first-generation college students. Earlier today, I was presenting on this information. We're working on the first of several manuscripts that are going to be coming off of that, and that's all because I had a chance to participate in this guided research team, which is great. Christine's been building a good research team. Sharon's got a really big research team. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with that. There's also something called co-curriculars, which I'm not sure if that's going to be mentioned at some point during this, but there's opportunities to get involved in other research studies that are happening on campus in the School of Education. The benefit of that is it's a really good chance to practice some of your methodology skills. So maybe you really want to work on a certain type of statistics that you've done in class, or maybe some qualitative research. There's different opportunities to get involved with that. I work with the Metropolitan Educational Research Consortium here. It's a partnership with VCU School of Education, 7 local school divisions. We have co-curriculars all the time that you should get involved in. My work with Merck started as a co-curricular, which turned into my graduate assistantship, which turned into my current full-time job. So it's a really cool way of getting involved with things. There's opportunities to partner up with other professors that are working on papers and to get to author some papers, book chapters, things like that. You can author your own research and present that at conferences. We're highly encouraged to go to national conferences. We go to American Educational Research Association every year. I've had a chance to go to the American Psychological Association conference every year, which is in San Diego this year, so I really hope I get to go this year. But there's a lot of opportunities to write and to get a chance to present your research. So it's really encouraged and celebrated here. If you're interested in teaching opportunities, this has probably been the most fulfilling thing that I've been able to do here. I'm a pretty extroverted person, so I really enjoy the chance to teach. And there's classes for pre-service teachers here. There's a human development learning class that I've been able to teach one section of for the last 2 years, and I've really enjoyed that. So if you're interested in teaching at a college level, there are potential opportunities for you to be able to do that, potentially through your assistantship or maybe through adjunct. There's different ways of getting involved with that. It's a good idea to try to get involved in the community here. So VCU School of Education is uniquely positioned as an urban serving public research institution. We've got Richmond Public Schools here locally, other school divisions that have a fairly high amount of need. My research is on high poverty schools and low income student motivation for students who are trying to go to college. And so getting involved in the community was critical to my research, but also just a good way to kind of get to know people around here and to make connections. And there's lots of ways to get to do that. I found my dissertation site through getting involved with some things in the community. So that's a good idea to try to reach out and try to make those connections locally. And then finally, I just wanted to mention this idea of shaping professional identity. There's a lot of different directions you can go with a PhD. When I was a school counselor and I decided to leave that job to go to this program, my students and my parents that I worked with would frequently say, "What is it you're trying to do with it?" And I would always tell them, "I don't know." Right? So it wasn't a certain job I was looking for. I always told them it was a direction and not a destination. And that was very true. And so what I would advocate is, as you're here, as that starts to develop, and you're figuring out what it is you want to do with that, think divergently about it, because there's a lot of different directions that you could take it. So I didn't know that the kind of work that we do here at the Metropolitan Educational Research Consortium, I didn't know that was a thing until I came here. And I'm so glad that I was receptive to that as a possibility, because it's turned into a pretty great job opportunity that I really enjoy, and that kind of scratches my K-12 community engagement itch while also getting to engage in research. So if you want to be a professor, if you want to do community engaged work, if you want to be a practitioner in school divisions, there's a lot of different things you can do with this degree.
Just to wrap up, we have some of the results from the 2016 alumni and current student survey about why students choose VCU, and there are several reasons, and I think a lot of the reasons that students highlighted in that survey were also highlighted in what David shared from the students' perspective. And I hope that it's also highlighted in what Christine and I have shared, in that I think when students come to VCU, they see how much faculty care about students, and they see just how much we care about this program. So I think that those are some of our highlights, but in the interest of time, I am going to skip to the next slide so that we can get to your questions. So for next steps, I hope that you check out our admissions page at our program website. There is the link, but you can also get there by just searching EdPsych, Educational Psychology, from the VCU homepage. Otherwise, again, this is Sharon Zembrin, and you can reach out to me. Please feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have. And with that, we will scoot to questions from participants. Are they muted still?
So feel free to type in your questions in the chat box. Or if you'd like, feel free to just chime in. So what we've just done is unmuted everyone.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you.
So what questions do you have? So maybe we can start with some of the questions that were brought up from the on the survey that was on the RSVP, in case others are wondering similar things.
Yeah, so there were some questions on the Google form that came up among at least 2 or 3 folks. So one was how to balance working full-time with participating in the doctoral program. And so we wanted to address that because we do have, we have in the past and currently full-time and part-time doctoral students. Kathy, is that something that you should speak to?
Yeah, I think that some things, it will take you a little bit longer. So you only take, a couple courses a semester instead of the 3 more that full-time students take. And the research teams are set a different time each semester around people's course schedules, and their other obligations. So we can minimize, the number of times you need to come down to campus to participate in those. But I think it serves a good purpose in keeping you connected, to the other students and faculty in the program.
And something that's related to this, a question just came in. How does this program benefit someone who wants to stay in the K-12 classroom? I can speak to that directly, well, kind of directly. When I went to pursue my Ph.D. in education, my primary goal was to be a better teacher. And I think there's great honor in that. Clearly, that's not the direction that I've gone. I found myself here at VCU training teachers and working with others to benefit education in other ways. But I think that there's a lot of power for staying in the K-12 classroom. And with today's today's focus a lot on coaching and the power of coaching within schools. I think that opens some opportunities up for practicing in-service teachers with to take advantage of their education and help other teachers as well.
Yeah, I'll say something to kind of add on to that. So there's a couple of students, one of them recently graduated from this program, named Drew Baker, who's an instructional technology resource teacher for Henrico County Public Schools. And I know that he uses the motivational theories specifically with engagement all the time in his work, and he does that to work with other teachers and students and make sure that they're getting the kind of support that they need. And at the conference that we just hosted today from Merck, another student that's in this program, Marcy Walsh, she gave a presentation to other K-12 practitioners about all these motivation theories that we learn, right? And so it was, how do you take these and apply them to classroom practices that could best benefit your students, like understanding how your students are motivated, what makes them learn, what their decision-making processes are, and that was well received and well attended. And so as somebody who wants to stay in the K-12 realm, you would be well supported. I kept thinking in my classes of, if I was still a counselor, this would be such a valuable thing for me to know all this information. So if you're planning on staying in the K-12 classroom and you want to do this, you would get a lot out of it. Anita Crowder is another good example. She currently teaches at the governor's school here and does really great work. And what she learns in this program, I'm sure she takes in the classroom.
And as we wait for additional questions to keep rolling in, one of the other questions is about kind of who we are, and I hope that I addressed some of that of what of how who we are and how we differ. But one thing that stands out to me, a question that I get from interested applicants is whether or not we're a school psychology program. It's important to note that we're not a school psychology program, but rather we focus on learning, instruction, and learning environments.
So just to clarify on that, the difference between educational psychology and school psychology, one difference is that school psychology, that program and that degree is designed to support diagnoses of learning challenges in schools. And as hopefully we've covered for Ed Psych, there's less of the diagnostic aspect and more of the application of theory and research to understanding teaching and learning in classrooms. Mm-hmm. And then what you can do with this degree, I think David did a really great job providing some concrete examples of where our students have gone. It could vary widely.
Another question that was raised on the Google form was, does this degree address teacher morale? And I think it really does, in that we have several students and faculty interested in not only teacher morale, but how to engage teachers as advocates and empower teachers, as well as administrators. And so I think we see that as a general concern of teachers today, and wider than that even, and a great interest. A question that was just asked, how recent does the GRE score need to be? That's a really good question. I believe the answer to that is within the last 5 years.
And that's primarily because PCS doesn't hang on to them for more than 5 years. You know, if you happened to have an old score report, or if you got your master's, here at VCU, and we already have something on record for you, sometimes that timeline can be waived.
And another question that was asked is on, I'm sorry, is there an option for online or part-time study? So we discussed that there's definitely options for part-time study, and something that we actually encourage if it works for you. But there, unfortunately, is no online study right now at this time.
There may be occasions in a class where you can use Zoom or Skype to participate in a class because you have a sick child, or we've had women who have given birth and want to stay up to date with their courses, and so they've participated virtually for part of the semester. but typically not for the whole semester.
Another question that was asked is, what, if any, master's degrees are awarded en route? And we do not have right now there's currently no mechanism for awarding a master's degree. Although we do accept students with a bachelor's degree and into the program, we are a Ph.D. program. You have more to add to that? Do you need a GRE if you have a master's? That's a really good question. If you do need your GRE scores within the last 5 years, even if you have a master's.
Yeah, I mean, you sometimes, depending upon what your master's degree is in, where you received it, you could ask for a waiver of that, but it's not anything that would be guaranteed. It's really on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, if you have a master's and you have a specific question related to the GRE, please message me, Sharon. Another question that just came in, you spoke of teaching opportunities in the School of Education. Are there teaching opportunities for other institutions at VCU?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. There really are.
Yeah, so we've had students that have, I don't know if you're familiar with VCU at all, but we have a freshman seminar program called Focused Inquiry, and we've had students that have taught in Focused Inquiry before. Sometimes it's part of their assistantship that they were able to teach over there. They got involved with that program otherwise. So occasionally, yes, there are opportunities to be able to do that.
But if you want to teach at John Tyler or J. Sarge or something like that, that's up to you to make those connections. We don't have anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any more questions. I do see another question. If one gets a graduate assistantship, is it guaranteed that it will be offered all 3 years? That's a really great question. Our graduate assistantships are the current package, so that's what we can only talk about right now, is that as I think these are policies that sometimes change within institutions, and currently our graduate assistantships are guaranteed for 2 years, and then the third year is on a competitive basis. Okay, well, with that, we've got one final question, and if you have more questions, you can of course reach out to us. You spoke of the small cohorts. You spoke of the small cohorts. How large is the program? That's another really good question. Right now, our program is about a dozen students or so right now.
Or in the ed psych track?
In the ed psych track,
yes.
Yeah, specifically with our track. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a number of people graduate in the last year.
Moving target.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. But it gets blurry because some of those students kind of stay on, and the research teams as well. And so it's, again, speaking of that family and that collaborative spirit. This last question, I can definitely understand the stress from having to retake the GRE. How much weight in the application decision does it take? This is a really great final question. And it is very dependent, and it's something that is a required component of our application, but it's something that it's just one element of the application for us. And we really heavily consider fit within the program first and foremost. So we are looking for students who align with who we are and what we do, and we see a good fit for them. That's not to discount the importance of all the other factors as well, including GRE, because it is an important, but it's only one factor, and that's important to say.
And so if you have 298 instead of 300 or 295, we're not going to say absolutely not because you aren't at 300. We look at the whole package, and look for other aspects of your package that make it clear to us that you would be a good candidate for the program.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And again, please reach out with any questions that you have. We hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.